does this sort of thing keep me awake at night? Not really. I mean, there are bigger issues in the world to be dealing with, like international trade wars, the closure of the steel industry, and the Ukraine war. But this is a question of taxpayers' money. And I do think it's worthy of a discussion here because Prince Harry has lost this case against the Home Office and he's appealing it in the Court of Appeal. Now, his KC, his King's Counsel, who's representing him, has said that his life was at stake if his security was not reinstated. I mean, really? Honestly? I mean, do we believe that? Look, I've got nothing against Prince Harry. I like the guy. I think he was the most popular royal for a long period of time. I've even danced alongside Prince Harry at a nightclub in the West End. I've got nothing against him at all. He's a perfectly nice guy. When I had a brief chat with him then. But the point is this. Should you and I have to spend our taxpayer hard-earned pounds when there are so many other challenges to face in the world right now, funding his security when he has decided to leave the country of his own accord to live abroad with his family and then come back at will? Now, this is not the case that he's not offered protection. He is offered protection where it is deemed appropriate, and he has to give 30 days notice. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, he's not coming back here every other day. So why should he be entitled to the full the full-on package that his brother, Prince William, would be getting, or his father, the King, would be getting, when he's no longer a serving active member of the royal family? I suppose. I mean, I find it all a bit odd. I mean, a Telegraph poll reveals that most voters are not in favour of that taxpayer-funded type security. I find it a little bit self-indulgent, bordering on narcissistic, frankly, to be expecting the UK taxpayer to pick up the bill. I mean, look, he's not the only old Etonian to believe in cakeism, i.e. having your cake and eating it as well. Boris Johnson started that thing. Nothing against Eton, by the way, apart from the fact they used to thrash on the rugby field when I used to go there. But come on, this is a bit self-indulgent, isn't it, Harry? Come on, really. I know that Harry is a troubled individual. I understand why. Losing his mother young, the massive toll that would have taken. We know about it. We've read about it in Spare. Fully sympathetic with it, fully empathetic with it, in an institution that is not always the best at dealing with these kinds of things. I think we can all empathise with that. But if you decide to decamp to Montecito for a supposed quiet life, then end up making Netflix documentaries about polo and your wife's making lifestyle programs, that's your choice. Fine. But why should the UK taxpayer then fund your security when you come here? When, frankly, I mean, who's interested in particularly accosting Harry? I mean, really, I think this is perfectly fine the way it is my own sense.
I have very strong views on this. It's very simple. In one word, no. 2 words, absolutely no. He's chosen that life. He has chosen to berate his family. He has said some awful, unpleasant things. He does get security when he comes back of a sort, and your previous guests explained that. He wants exactly what he and his awful wife have always wanted. They're both moaning Minnie and moaning Mickey. They wanted out, but they still wanted all the privileges of the royal family. Well, it doesn't work that way, Harry. You've chosen it. Now get on with it. And suddenly society doesn't like it. And by the way, if I may very courteously ask, who the hell would want to even kidnap him? I mean, quite honestly, he's always spouting off about some rubbish. Who's interested? No one is interested in them. They keep thinking that they are the centre of attraction. I would like to know and ask the question, who pays for all this, all his trips backwards and forwards? Who pays for whatever he does out there apart from Netflix? And who actually pays for the expensive King's Counsel advice that he's getting? I think he is an absolute walking disaster, not waiting to happen. It has happened, and the sooner we're rid of him, the better. There was one thing I always learned about the royal family, which seems to have completely been lost now. One, as being part of the royal family and bearing a royal name or title, one should never earn money from the use of that title. I remember that all the time during the Queen's reign. Well, that just has suddenly gone. I mean, he still is called a prince, and people treat him as if he is a lord of the land. It's a disgrace, and the answer is no.
Understood, Elliot. You made it very clear. He didn't choose to be born a prince, did he? I mean, whether he decides to, but if he resigns from the firm, inverted commas, and he's alluding to the fact that this was being hung over his head as a tool in the discussions he was having at the time.
Well, I don't believe that. Forgive me for interrupting you. I don't believe it at all. He decided to leave. He didn't decide to be born a prince. I wasn't decided to be born in the environment either. I'm very happy, and I get on with my life.
But he's got no choice, Elliot.
Happy. He chose to leave.
I understood, Elliot, but if he decides to leave the firm because he doesn't want to serve, that doesn't mean that he's still not a royal prince. He is what he is. He was born that way. He's a public figure. Even though he's resigning from being a working royal, why should we prevent him having the same level of security that his brother does and the king does?
Because they are serving members of the institution and represent this country in a respectful and dutiful manner. He has berated this country. His wife hates this country. You have to be blind, deaf and dumb not to see what's gone on. And he loathes his family. I'm sorry he lost his mother. Lots of people lose their mothers or fathers. It's a terrible thing, but that's what happens even at a young age. He had all the help required. He's had everything given to him. He's been born. He didn't choose to be born in such a wonderful, privileged environment like his uncle, who's carried on like a lunatic.
Why is his wife awful, Elliot? You said his wife was awful. Why did you say that?
Because
cheap shot?
I think she's a... Pardon?
Cheap shot, isn't it, Elliot?
Because I think he's so weak. She has completely influenced him. She never had any wish to live in this country and to serve under the Queen as she was, or the royal family. This Meghan Markle woman, she doesn't even speak to her own family. She is a rotten actress, in my view. I saw her in Suits, which was pretty boring. My point is, she wants things done her own way.
Okay.
Everything she does is all about them and her.
Okay,
they don't contribute and they don't give anything.
Understood, Elliot. Other people have a very strong view, and whatever you think, she is extremely well-dressed and very stylish. Zara trousers and Loro Piana jumpers, if I remember correctly, from the series I was watching the other day when she was making donuts, I believe. Quite well, actually, by the way. Elliot, thank you for your call. Suzanne, a new caller in Barnes. Welcome, Suzanne.
Hi. I think that last caller just actually proved the case of why Prince Harry needs security, because there's been so much hate stirred up about him and also a lot of misinformation. But also we shouldn't forget that he did offer to pay for his security himself some time ago. But I understand there was various restrictions as to what, equipment, guns or whatever his security could have.
Then let Met Police, Suzanne. Of course you can, Suzanne.
I saw him. I saw Prince Harry come for some service at St Paul's a while ago, and I was really shocked when he came out how unprotected he seemed, isolated. He had 2 or 3 of his own staff that were clearly his people there, and also when he got into his car and he pulled off, he had to wait for the traffic and then, eventually get out. I just thought at the time how vulnerable he was. And also, do we really want to have something happen to him?
Well, of course we don't.
He is always going to be the king's son.
Of course we don't want anything to happen. Of course we don't. Absolutely not, Suzanne. But the thing is, as I understand it, he gives 30 days notice. An assessment is made by the police at the relevant time as to where he's going, what the implications are, and they provide the level of security required. I mean, the Met Police Force, as you're saying, Suzanne, he offered to pay for it. The Met Police is not like a private security company. It's not G4S. I mean, the Met is a public institution. It's not a private security company.
No, but if you go to a football match, the football clubs have to pay for the police, don't they? So there are instances where people can pay for security.
Do you think he's been hard done by, Suzanne? You think we're being too hard on him?
I do, definitely. And also, I'm not into the whole thing about the taxpayers should pay. I think if you're looking at it, you should look at the whole of the royal family in terms of what protection they get, how much it costs us, all the rest of it, because I'm sure there are other members of the family who also cost us a lot of money, but they're not exposed. They're not ridiculed in the press. So I didn't think we've been hard on him.
Okay, Suzanne, thank you for your call. Robert, another new caller in Enfield. Warm welcome. Good afternoon, Robert.
Yes, in my view, I think his security should remain, its whole package should remain, because number one is a royal. No matter how we look at it, left, right, and centre, it still remains a royal. And at the end of the day, if anything happens to him, which you cannot predict on the basis of the fact that he comes into the country every now and again, if anything happens to him, it's the same set of people that said that he should not get security that will come out and say, why was he not protected? So at the end of the day, how much is he costing the taxpayer in terms of the 1 or 2 times that he enters into the country?
There's more than that, I think. It's more than that, Robert.
Yes, it's slightly more than that. But at the end of the day, for the rest of his natural life, which is not very long, in terms of like what all the others receive, there are names within the royal family that don't come to limelight, that receive the full package of security. What's stopping him from receiving that? I don't think it's right because he chose to be happy. He chose to be happy because he chose to be happy. However, whatever the case may be, back and forth, we can push that back and forth. He chose to be happy. He still remains a royal.
Robert, I understand that.
Him, it's going to cost a stain on the name of the royal family.
I understand that, and of course we don't want anything to happen to him. Of course we don't. But the royal family is an institution that serves the public. It is there to serve the public, and is there to perform a public duty. Now, if you decide for whatever reasons, personal happiness or whatever you want, for your own desire to go and decamp to Montecito and appear on Netflix programs about polo, that's your decision. That's fine. It's a personal choice. But why on earth should the police, which is an arm of it's a public service here, be your private plaything in that respect? Oh, he's gone. Okay, never mind. Andrew says this: no, they have enough money. And Steve says Harry, like any other multimillionaire, should fund their own security. He left the firm, so why should the firm provide security? I think this is a bit of a murky point about whether he's paying or not paying. The question is, should he be allowed to pay, even if he wants to pay, for services provided by the police? I mean, as I say, it's not a private security firm. Steve says, why should I, a low-paid worker, donate my taxes to fund a multimillionaire's security? Interesting point. Should the UK taxpayer fund Prince Harry's security?